In the Vatican, public viewing of Pope Francis opened coffin and on Friday afternoon after a three-day line in state at St. Peter's Basilica. China and Venezuela strengthened their joint strategic partnership during the official visit of Venezuelan delegations to Beijing led by Vice President Delcy Rodriguez. And the United Nations Organization for Palestine Refugees denounced almost 500,000 Palestinians forcibly displaced since the resumption of the Israeli genocide against Gaza. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. In the Vatican, public viewing of Pope Francis opened coffin and on Friday afternoon after a three-day line in state at St. Peter's Basilica. In this regard, the Vatican informed that more than 250,000 faithful bid farewells to the Argentinian pontiffate at the Holy See over a three-day open casket viewing, which caused the schedule of the first 2 days to be extended to the early hours of the morning. For the last day of a week, the viewing time was shortened for the preparations ahead of the funeral. Honduras President Xiomara Castro visits St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican to pay her respect on behalf of the Honduran people to Pope Francis. The Honduran president visited the Basilica in the company of her private secretary Héctor Zelaya, Foreign Minister Enrique Reina, as well as the country's representatives to the Holy See. Castro will remain in the Vatican during the entire welfare ceremony for the American Pope Act that will take place this Saturday. Up to 50 head of states and 10 monarchs will attend the funeral of Pope Francis as part of the 130 official delegations that have confirmed the attendance to the funeral mass in the Vatican City. Among the head of states attending the funeral, the President of the U.S. Donald Trump and his Argentinian counterpart and French counterpart Javier Milei and Emmanuel Macron. The Brazilian head of state Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva will also attend, as well as the President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen and the President of the European Parliament, Roberta Metsola. The funeral liturgy will be presided over by the Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, after which the coffin will be transferred to the Basilica of Santa Maria la Maggiore for burial. And during the morning conference, the President of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, recalled through a video the connection of the Mexican people with the Virgin of Guadalupe.
Dos veces viajé a México, una vez como Papa atravesante de un congreso.
I traveled to Mexico twice, once as Pope and once before in a Congress, and, when I was there as Pope, the things I remember the most was when I was sitting there looking at Our Lady of Guadalupe and the time passed. They had to take me out, I didn't realize it. You Mexicans are very lucky. Our Lady of Guadalupe, the Mother of God for whom we live, don't forget it, turn to her. They tell me that all Mexicans are devotees of Our Lady of Guadalupe, even those who do not believe in God. Continue being her devotees, may God bless you.
Early on Friday morning, 199 Venezuelan migrants arrived in Caracas as part of the humanitarian plan back to the homeland. The flight was comprised of 171 men, 19 women and 9 children. This is the second flight of the week to return Venezuelans home on Thursday. Another flight carrying 316 Venezuelans arrived from Mexico. The Venezuelan government emphasizes this initiative is unique in its kind, aimed at supporting and protecting the victims of the U.S. economic blockade. In this regard, the Venezuelan Minister of Interior, Diosdado Cabello, denounced that a Venezuelan woman reported kidnapping of her son, a 2-year-old child who was not allowed to board or fly.
But among the women, there is a fellow countrywoman, a compatriot named Yorlis Bernal, who stated and denounced that while getting on the plane, they kidnapped her 2-year-old child. They did not allow the child to board the plane and put her alone on the plane. They forced her to get on the plane. She claimed her child and they did not let her. They separated her from her 2-year-old child. Children are being kidnapped in the United States. The government of the United States is stealing Venezuelan children, and this has to do with human trafficking. This has to be denounced to the world. Yorlis Bernal, the government of the United States is stealing children.
In the United States, a federal judge ordered the return of second migrants deported by the President Donald Trump's administration to New Mexico prison in El Salvador. Magistrate Stephen Gallagher ruled that U.S. government made mistakes with the Department of Corrections, a 20-year-old Venezuelan, and ordered the administration to facilitate his return. In the United States, FBI agents arrested on Friday a Milwaukee judge accused of helping a man evade immigration authorities. According to the accusation, Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan escorted the man and his lawyer out of her courtroom last week after in that immigration authorities were seeking his arrest. Let's take a very short break, but don't go away because we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Ecuador was the scenario of a series of seismic events that set off alarms among the population on Friday. Precisely, the first telluric movement was recorded at 6:36 a.m. with a magnitude of 4.2 and an epicenter located in the Pacific Ocean, approximately 404 kilometers from Galera in the province of Esmeraldas. In addition, at 6:44 a.m. local time, a new magnitude 6.3 earthquake shocked the coastal region of the nation, with its epicenter located 17 kilometers from Esmeralda.
There are homes whose masonry is affected. The damage is on a third floor, and they have iron and zinc roofs. We are going to start working non-stop. We will go continuously, seeing how we can help. We also know that schools are affected. The walls of the schools need to be removed. We will do it with the machinery and coordinate with each person.
The rain emergency in Ecuador was extended this Thursday from 8 to 12 of the country's 24 provinces after registering 44 deaths. In this regard, more than 51,000 has been injured and 172,000 people have been affected since the beginning of the year. As a result of the emergency declaration was extended for 16 more days in the 8 provinces that were already under these measures, and in provinces of Bolívar, Cotopaxi, Chimborazo, and Pichincha were added. And Russian President Vladimir Putin met in the Kremlin on Friday with U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to discuss a potential ceasefire deal with Ukraine. The reunion was the second meeting between the head of state and Witkoff in the last 2 weeks, and their fourth one this year. The last one took place at St. Petersburg on April 11, lasting more than 4 hours. In this regard, Kremlin Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov explained that the negotiations are the many sides since the subject is very complex. In this regard, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stated that Moscow, with U.S. mediation, is ready for an agreement on Ukraine, but some details needed to be finalized. For a time, in Moscow and Washington are actively cooperating to resolve the Ukrainian crisis, while Kiev insists on its own conditions and does not want to make concessions. In Russia, an attack claimed the life of a duty chief of the main operational directorate of the Armed Forces General Staff, Yaroslav Muskalik, after a vehicle explosion in the city of Balashia, Moscow province. The country's investigative committee reported that the incident occurred on Friday in the parking lot of a residential building. The explosive device used in the attack contained more than 300 grams of TNT. China supports the International Atomic Energy Agency in playing a constructive role in programming the political and diplomatic resolutions of the U.S.-Iran nuclear issue. The Chinese permanent representative to the agency, Li Sun, made the remark following a joint meeting in Austria with his Russian counterpart, Mikhail Ulyanov, and Iranian counterpart, Reza Najafi. China, Russia, and Iran emphasized that political and diplomatic engagements remain the only viable and practical path for resolving the nuclear issue. Let's take a last break, but we invite you to stay because we'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back. The United Nations Organization for Palestine Refugees announced almost 500,000 Palestinians forcibly displaced since the resumption of the Israeli genocide against Gaza. The international organization warns that refugee camps report overcrowding in unsustainable living conditions due to the lack of supplies of basic services. The agency also indicates that the humanitarian crisis in the enclave is at its worst since October 2023, describing shelters as insecure and barely habitable. On Friday, the United Nations World Food Programme delivered the last remaining food stock to Hot Meals Kitchen in support in the Gaza Strip, as it has depleted all its food stocks for families in Gaza. Authorities add that soup kitchens will run out of ingredients by the end of the month. For weeks, the humanitarian situation got worse by the day. Already back on March 31st, all 25 WFP supporter bakeries closed as wet flour and cooking fuel ran out. The same week, WFP food oil parcels distributed to families were exhausted. In Sudan, several units linked to the paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces prevented the remaining inhabitants of the Zamzam displaced camp from leaving after occupying it last week. According to a statement issued by the UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, the fighting has caused nearly 400,000 people sheltering in Zamzam to be evicted. On Friday, a small police plane crashed into the sea near a popular beach town in Thailand, killing 5 people on board. The plane was being used for a reconnaissance mission prior to a parachute training exercise and crash in the area between Sham and Hohim district, approximately 100 meters from the shore. Protests continue in the Indian region of Kashmir over the suspension of the water sharing treaty between India and Pakistan. Protesters chant slogans against the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi holding Placards reading "We will not bow down to terrorism" and pictures of Indian leaders. This aims at growing tensions between New Delhi and Islamabad, stemming from the attacks in Kashmir that left 26 people dead. Meanwhile, in New Delhi, multiple protests also take place with demonstrators carrying Indian flags and slogans against Pakistan. Protesters described the death of the 26 people in Kashmir, most of them Indians, as a terrorist act. In addition, citizens of both countries started to return to their homelands through the Wagah border near the city of Lahore, East Pakistan.
We want to give a straight message to whole world that India is united against terrorism, and we will leave no stone unturned until these terrorists get the punishment which they deserve. For this, for the unity of the nation, and for a proper retaliation must be given from the Indian Army.
We have come to the end of this news brief for teleSUR English, and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.